The best part about being the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman and what keeps me in the role is the opportunity to really have a significant impact on pretty much every part of a person's life. As Long-Term Care Ombudsman, we get to have a unique opportunity to not only help people get medical care, but really to have a better way of life, to exert all their rights, and whether that's their right to stay in a facility rather than be discharged, or their right to vote, or their right just to be a person. It's a really unique experience. And another thing is always the ability to keep learning. Every day, and not every job, you get to have the opportunity to say, hey, I learned something new every day, and yet there is a rare day that goes by that I don't learn something new as a State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And that's despite being in the field for 15 years.
Well, I think for me, it's the ability to impact policies and laws that improve quality of care and quality of life for residents. It's a great feeling at the end of the day to see something in print that you know you've worked on, that you've advocated for, that you've negotiated with other state agencies on, that you know is going to impact resident care and ultimately that resident's life. I find a great deal of satisfaction in knowing that at the end of the day, we got something done for residents.
Hello, the best part of being a state ombudsman, it's the best job in the whole wide world. I have to admit that it's the hardest job, but the very best job, and I absolutely love it. To know that you are helping vulnerable individuals on a daily basis and fulfilling their needs and monitoring quality of life and care, whether it's a nursing home, assisted living, or home care, it's really amazing to know that we can make a difference in the residents' lives. Best of all, I really feel that I continue to grow as a state ombudsman. I'm learning and staying in this role. I can't think of another job that I would be happier in. You really have an impact on human lives, and knowing not only at the state level, at the federal level, you're making a difference throughout the country, not only your state. So working with all of these different individuals within our ombudsman program and making lives better, best job in the world. Thank you.
The best part about being a state ombudsman is the ability to help people, not just on an individual level by providing some guidance and some assistance to our local ombudsman, but really taking those issues that they identify and taking them to a systems level and really making a difference, sitting down with other agencies and talking about the problems that we see in long-term care and making suggestions for resolution and then seeing those resolutions happen.
I would say that the best part for me is that I have a job that I get to be pursuing social justice, and there aren't a whole lot of jobs where you get to do that and really have a client, the resident, who's the center and the focus of all the work that you do, and it makes it really easy because your mission drives your work, and that is a wonderful feeling. And the reason that I stay is partly that. But another part is that I feel a real responsibility to the people who do this work on the ground, the local ombudsmen in my state, and I feel that I have to protect their interests so that they can continue to do the good work, and that I know I've figured out how to do this and that I can provide them support and leadership to pursue those real individual casework that helps me then do the systems advocacy work and pursue social justice on behalf of those residents. So that's why I'm here.
Number one, my colleagues are incredible. The state ombudsmen are all very, very supportive. Number two, because it's really important work. I mean, who better to help than our elders and people with disabilities who are living in long-term care facilities. They're very isolated, and they're so appreciative when we come in and we can help them with their complaints and their problems. So I stay in it because I love it, and it makes me feel like I'm making a difference.
Well, one of the things that works best in trying to stay grounded when you're dealing with a sticky wicket or a tough issue, I think it's going to sound silly, is a sense of humor. You have to have the ability to not take yourself too seriously, despite being involved in some very serious situations, whether it's an end-of-life issue or whether you're trying to help somebody make decisions when there may be a question about their ability to make any kind of decision. You have to be able to step back and laugh at yourself, to take a breath, to regroup, to talk to people who are experts in the field, to have those relationships to fall back on, to be able to talk with your staff, to realize that you're not alone, to have that good, freeing laugh, and then go back in, put on your serious face, and do the serious work that needs to be done.
I think it's really important to get buy-in and support from the stakeholders, not only the local long-term care ombudsman programs, but also our state unit on aging as well, and other stakeholders that we interact with, other advocates. The more that people can be involved in the process with regard to decision-making, planning, reviewing of policies, forms, those kinds of plans. The more there's local buy-in and buy-in on the top from the state unit, I think having those individuals and those organizations participate in the process really help them take ownership of the process and help move it forward. Getting stakeholders or like-minded other advocates involved as well also gives you some additional strength to your voice. Knowing that you don't have to be the Lone Ranger out there doing this by yourself, that you've got other entities, your state unit director, your local ombudsman programs, and other citizen advocate groups that can help you navigate through these changes is extremely helpful.
As the State Ombudsman, I truly feel that it's my responsibility to always seek and pursue opportunities for residents living in the state of Wisconsin. As an advocate, I need to, as a State Ombudsman, really communicate with everybody. Not only, obviously, the residents are our priority, but we need to communicate with people within our states in seeking opportunity. The more visible we are, and the more that we're at the table on certain issues, it's really critical. Working with the governor, working with the legislature, and working with all of the other advocates within the state's aging and disability advocates, that's critical as well. The more visible we are, the more proactive we can be. It's my philosophy as the State Ombudsman that I don't want to be reactive. It's my responsibility to make sure that individuals in long-term care settings and home care settings have the best opportunities. In the state of Wisconsin, we've been really fortunate. We have a veteran care ombudsman specialist. I could see that our veterans were a priority in our state and needed more advocacy, so be proactive rather than reactive. Closures within our state, we developed a relocation ombudsman specialist. So always think ahead. What is the most critical priority in your state? Learning and growing, communicating is really the most critical need. And at the same time, it's important to always be aware, are there conflicts of interest that we have to be aware of when we pursue opportunities for our most vulnerable individuals in the state of Wisconsin? Always evaluating, is this really the best for our individuals? What is the potential conflict in their needs, and evaluating the program at all times.
It's important to keep ombudsmen grounded in our code of ethics and ethical principles. It's especially important for local ombudsmen to always remember who is my client and what does my client want. And if we keep that in mind, then we will be guided by that in everything that we do. we provide some reminders to staff through, we have everybody watch the Maggie Growls documentary to see what an advocate really is, and then remind them of that periodically, and identify all of the great things that an advocate is. Someone who is determined, someone who focuses on the self-determination of the individual, looks at their capacity to make the individual decisions that we need them to make as we go forward to try to solve problems for them. So really keeping focused on who is my client and what does my client want is especially important.
So I was asked to tell you guys about why and how I lead and manage change processes in my state. And so some examples of that would be creating policies and procedures maybe for the first time or redoing them, implementing the federal rule or new state rules in your state. And so I've got 3 points to make. One, that you have to make time for it. You have to take time for it. You have to set aside time and really dig into whatever it is that you need to implement in your state. You have to really understand it and justify it so that you can explain it to other people, because there won't be somebody who's going to get it better than you, and you've got to translate that for your people. So that's my first point, make time for it. The second is you do have to, and this is hard for me sometimes, be open to feedback that you get. You can learn important things from your stakeholders about what isn't going to work quite right for them, and you need to listen to that so you can incorporate it. But you also need to remember what is not negotiable and stay firm on that. And you can get help from people like other state ombudsmen, from AOA or NORC, if you're not sure what is sort of something you can't negotiate on, if you're not sure about it. And my last point is to ask for help. So I kind of went there already. Ask your colleagues. You're going to find out other states that are similar to your structure, and I think those can be good resources to you, but also just people that you find you admire when they talk in front of the ombudsman. Ask them for help and get their advice on it. But also, the important people at AOA, don't be shy about asking Louise or Becky or whoever will be in charge in the future for what advice they have. What did they do when they were state ombudsman? Or what pitfalls do we need to be careful about? And finally, I think NORC is our absolute #1 resource, because they have so many materials for us, and they're there to support us, kind of like you're there to support your local ombudsman. So ask for help, and that'll help get you through a good change management process.